Hi, I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics, and I Am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee. And in the show notes below, you'll find a pre-order link where you can pre-order I Am Stan, and you can also, at that same link, pre-order the softcover edition of Jack Kirby. You can follow me on Twitter at Tom Scioli and on Instagram at Tom_Scioli. And please support my Patreon. Go to patreon.com and search Tom Scioli. So let's talk about Kamandi, Kirby's undeniable hit book from his 70s tenure at DC. You know, this is the one that ran the longest and seemed to capture the zeitgeist and the popular imagination. When I talk to people who were, you know, sort of comics fans when this book was coming out, I seem to meet a lot of, you know, fans of this book. And I can sort of see it. It's got the appeal of, I mean, it's, you know, largely drawing from Planet of the Apes, which was sort of, you know, the mandate here. But Jack Kirby seems to do the entire plot of all the Planet of the Apes movies in this first issue, and then he moves on into sort of crazy territory after this. Beasts that act like men, men who act like beasts. See the world of Kamandi, the last boy on Earth. First DC issue, a sensational Jack Kirby blockbuster. So let's go. So here's Kamandi. You know, this. I mean, this is one of Kirby's best comics. Like this first issue, the first couple issues of Kamandi, Jack Kirby was working on these at the height of his powers, at his sort of most fertile creative period. He was working on these first couple issues at the same time that he was working on the great issues of the Fourth World, the sort of, you know, the best issues of New Gods, Mr. Miracle, and the Forever People, and at the same time that he was working on the first issue of, maybe the first two issues of The Demon. He was creatively on fire, and that sort of golden period doesn't last forever. It sort of ends shortly after this when the New Gods books get canceled, and it takes him a little while to recover. He doesn't quite fully recover until he jumps ship and goes back to Marvel. So we get Kamandi. His hair's a little shorter than what becomes his established signature look, and what a showstopper of a double-page splash, one of Kirby's best. So page one is the beginning of Planet of the Apes, where they're kind of you know, paddling in their little boat after their spaceship crashes. Pages 2 and 3 are the end of Planet of the Apes, where you see, you know, the Statue of Liberty. But it's just so much more cinematic, blockbuster, over the top, sort of like a Cecil B. DeMille biblical blockbuster. Just this you know, huge scene of, you know, apocalypse, basically. There's Kamandi on his raft. The first time I saw this image was in the Art of Jack Kirby book, and I was just blown away, and I was like, whoa, you know, what is this comic? I got to find out more about this, and I got to find out more about the guy who created it, Jack Kirby. Yeah, more stuff from like the beginning of the Planet of the Apes. He sort of, you know, pulls up and, you know, sees some people scantily clad. You know, the colorist sort of censors this image, you know, paints a bra onto her, so we don't have, you know, side nudity. They're scared, they're kind of bestial, and Kamandi just sort of paddles on, goes back to Command D, the bunker that he's from. And you know, Kamandi was sort of this concept that Kirby had in his back pocket since, I think, like the late 40s or early 50s. This concept of like, you know, this sort of, you know, wild boy who you know, explores some sort of, you know, sci-fi world. I don't know if it was, you know, specifically set in sort of post-apocalypse or whatever, but you know, and that he lives in Command D, which is, and this is, he's running past Command A. He lives in Command D. And he talks about raiders who've attacked. There's the door to Command D. So inside this command center, there's A, B, C, D. And he finds his, you know, grandfather dead. A lot of speculation about who his grandfather is. After Kirby left, they established, you know, within continuity that his grandfather was Buddy Blank from OMAC. You know, he could be Steve Rogers. You know, who knows what Kirby intended for Kamandi's grandfather. But Kamandi knows, because of what his grandfather taught him, and because of the films that he saw and that he's seen and the books that he's read, he knows about Earth before, you know, the great disaster. He doesn't he doesn't have a lot of firsthand experience. That what we're seeing is sort of, his first few forays into this world, and it's kind of a surprise to him because, yeah, the world that he knows, the outside world that he knows about is our world, and he sort of lived this sheltered existence, and now he's getting out into the world, and Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen are dead, so now he's forced to go off on an adventure. He shoots at the raider, and then now we get the big surprise reveal, if you haven't figured it out yet. There's nothing to give us the clues to it up to this point, nothing on the cover, anything. So a kid reading this, and they see this sort of wolf man, and Kamandi's just as surprised as we are. Great action sequences in this issue and in the series as a whole. Kamandi really holds his own, fighting this guy, kind of like how Jimmy Olsen fought the wolf man, not too long before this, and held his own. And, Kamandi, uses his fists, but he uses his brains too. And this guy's running through some water, and so Kamandi throws this wire in, flips the switch, and, he gets electrocuted. Now he gets in this super awesome, crazy-looking vehicle. We never got, a line of Kamandi toys, but drives up the Jersey Turnpike. So it's like, okay, we got some talking animals in this world. And now we see there's these sort of Roman Empire tigers who are sort of fighting a war, and Kamandi, against his better judgment, gets involved in it. This isn't my fight. I should stay out of it, but I can't. I just can't let him shoot that tiger. And so now, he becomes Caesar's good luck charm. Caesar grabs him, puts him on his horse. Big battle between the tigers and the leopards. Caesar has a thing that kind of looks like a lightsaber that he's using to burn the fields. Again, a couple years before Star Wars. And Caesar appreciates this this kid, but he hands him off to his buddy, and his buddy does not, and sort of throws him into a little cart like the beginning of Planet of the Apes, and he gets put in this place where they're sort of getting whipped and fed disgusting food. And again, another riff on Planet of the Apes when Charlton Heston ends up in the animal hospital, and Kamandi is kind of like a mini Charlton Heston. He's kind of he's kind of a grouch. He's kind of broody and pissy, and they seem to regard human beings as animals. It's sort of a topsy-turvy world where animals are in charge, and they're sort of mutated into these human-like creatures, and humans are at the bottom of the food chain, and Kamandi, though, is somehow smarter than the rest of the pack. Most of the animals that he encounters view this as a novelty. It doesn't upend their conception of the universe or anything the way it does in Planet of the Apes. And then he gets hosed down like Charlton Heston in the Planet of the Apes. To me, I'm a huge Planet of the Apes fan, but this comic just feels like an improvement on Planet of the Apes. The action, the stakes are upped, the action is up, the excitement is up, the pace is increased. And I think the idea of having a bunch of different animals is visually a lot of fun. And Kirby's doing a riff on Planet of the Apes. That's not his generation. He claims to have never seen the movie when he made this comic. He says he just sort of looked at he saw like TV ads for it and looked at pictures in magazines and sort of inferred everything in creating this. And I suppose I'll take him at his word, but I mean, he does seem to be drawing, like, he's done concepts similar to this, with elements similar to this in the past, and so this sort of has that feeling, sort of like an Island of Dr. Moreau riff, which he's done plenty of in the past. And so now we get the second Planet of the Apes movie where they worship a nuclear missile. All hail to the warhead, hail to the warhead. And so they have this sort of, religion built around this warhead. And Kamandi's all, dressed up in this fancy outfit. He is very weirded out by, all these anthropomorphic tigers worshiping a nuclear bomb. He takes his shot, jumps on top of a couple of them, steals Great Caesar's laser rod, or his lightsaber, as it's more commonly known, fires it up, looking very much like Luke Skywalker here. But Dr. Canis, with his Yoda ears, tackles young Kamandi. He wants to help Kamandi, and he knows this isn't the way out, that if Kamandi starts, fighting and stuff, like, he's going to get slaughtered and massacred. So Dr. Canis takes responsibility for him, brings him back to his lab, and Kamandi sees some hope. He thought he was the last human being left, but he sees there's an astronaut. There's this guy dressed up in an astronaut's costume, and I see you brought back company, Canis. He speaks coherently. And that costume he's wearing, I've seen illustrations of it in old books. He takes off his astronaut suit, and underneath, he's a full-fledged superhero. He presses his cyclotronic heart, the damper rod on his chest. His hand pressure acts as a damper rod. He's a natural atomic pile. Hold it, easy on the pressure. Don't worry, Canis, I've got no reason to fission. Of course, the boy might get a real treat if I did. The circle boy is a sort of protective covering for his cyclo-heart. It's an organ that also functions as an atom smasher. So, I mean, we're getting a new element thrown into this, Planet of the Apes formula, hinting at, that there's more to this than you might think, and there certainly is. And so we have this sort of, superhero that could have easily been introduced in any Jack Kirby book, and his name is Ben Boxer. And Kamandi is overcome with emotion that there's another human being out there. Thank heaven, I'm not alone, I'm not alone. Man is down, but he's not out. Kamandi can keep going now despite the perils. He has the purpose to live. The first trial has passed for the last boy on Earth. All complete in the next issue, a shocking discovery unearthed in what remains of a once great modern city. Kamandi finds it and releases a fury never before imagined by the mind of reasoning man. The last boy on Earth and Ben Boxer plunge into the Year of the Rat. So yeah, just, one of the all-time great Jack Kirby comic books, a great Jack Kirby origin story. Jack Kirby is like the master of the first issue, and he sets up a whole world. Yes, you see the ways in which it's derivative, but you also see the ways in which Jack Kirby just pole vaults over his reference material, over his the sort of things he's aping, pun intended, and just creates something so much more wonderful and so much weirder, and it only gets weirder from here and more wonderful. Issue 2 is another, high watermark for Kirby, artistically, creatively, and then I think it kind of gets, he kind of gets the wind knocked out of him by the time he starts working on issue 3. But this becomes, Kirby's major work, for the remainder of his time at DC, and it's the longest running of his DC comics. It runs 40 issues, I think, with Kirby at the helm, and then after he leaves, it continues. So this, this was an undeniable sales hit, and I think you can see why. It really speaks to sort of, a 70s imagination. Like I said, elements of Planet of the Apes, Land of the Lost, all those sort of Sid and Marty Krofft kind of things. It's just, and one more surprise left. If you weren't sure, about the greatness of this comic, here's the thing that puts it over the top. We get a map of Commande'S World. I love this kind of stuff. I wish Kirby would have done this for all of his comics, get a cool map of Apocalypse, a map of New Genesis, but we get Commande's continent. This map covers the extent of Commande's initial adventures into a world struck by a great cataclysm. It's not the world we know, but an exciting world to explore. And I think it was Dylan Horrocks who said, comics are maps, that comics, sort of evolved out of map making, and this map is a comic. It's got sort of a flow and story content, and, it becomes the roadmap that Kirby follows to, continue Commande's adventures. And then when Kamandi sort of runs, longer than any of Kirby's other series at DC, he revisits this and creates a double version of it where you get to see other new areas, on the other side of the world. that Kamandi explores. Intelligent killer whale raiders. Strange fire area. Once Alaska and Canada, this is now fear-ridden territory inhabited by hostile phantoms. Dominion of the devils. Mountainous new continent formed by upheaval, now connected to North America. Bay of Bones. Human herds found in all forested areas. Lion tribes, Pueblo builders, Monster Lake, gorilla communes, wild human preserve, expanding tiger empire, undersea New York rat network, which we'll see in issue 2, leopard sea pirate activity, jungle area, tracking site, city of the nuclear people, mystery crater country. I don't know about you, but, I'm ready for issue 2. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics, and I Am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee. There's a pre-order link in the show notes below where you can pre-order I Am Stan, and at that same link, you can also pre-order the softcover edition of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics. I'll see you next time.